Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Cummins and welcome to this video. This is part 2 of our Samurai Secret Scrolls video. Now what I've done in the last one is I've gone through the major points of the first Natori Ryu scroll. Now the first book, which is Book of Samurai, has 2 scrolls in it. It's got all of what was in the first video and it's got all of what I'm about to tell you now. Now this second scroll is technically Natori's 3rd scroll. The reason we've put this one in the book is just simply for publishing reasons. It's a case of the word count adds up to the correct size book when you put number 1 and number 3 together. If we put number 1 and number 2 together, it would be a little bit too small. So we've put number 1 and number 3 together. So this is, in the modern sense, the 2nd scroll. In the original sense, this is the 3rd scroll. So what this is, I'm going to go through now, is the first one was Conversations with Samurai Families, or Points About Living in Peacetime. This one is about important points for the independent soldier. So before I go on, I'm going to explain what an independent soldier means. It's called an ippei, a single warrior. Now this doesn't mean he is alone. What it means is he is a freeman, he's free. He's actually landholder, more than likely, or he's in a retained service. He owns and maintains his own weapons. He is trained to a high level, and he is an operative within a samurai military army. So you've got to remember, or you've got to think of this as the educated officer who can make decisions and who can lead men if need to, or be put together with other men and be the primary warriors on a medieval battlefield. So these are ippei. And the entire idea of Natori Ryu at the lower end of the scrolls is for you to become ippei, an independent warrior, an independent soldier. Now, unlike the first one, this scroll actually doesn't have too much from Natori. What you have is the main point, then you have some sub-points, and the rest of the information comes from the annotators, Annotator 1 and Annotator 2. Now Annotator 1 is from the Tokyo transcription, Annotator 2 is from the Koga transcription, and so it's about 50-50. About 50% of the words are from Natori and about 50% of the words are from the annotators, which is classed as the Kudenel, the oral tradition. Now I'm not sure why, but Natori, while he does have headings for these, he doesn't put as many headings as the first scroll. The first scroll is absolutely this heading, that heading, this one. This one tends to be a little bit less structured, if you will. It says structured, but less than the first one. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through this, and I might not be able to tell you all the headings, but I'll give you a quick idea of what's in the scroll. So remember, scroll number 1 and this 2nd scroll are both in Book of Samurai, and they are out. Now just go click the link below and get the book when you can. It's ready for pre-order now and it's out in 2015 in November. So, important points for the independent soldier. Right, the introduction. Basically, things that are important in warfare are unsheathing your weapon, holding a steady gaze, bearing arms, not becoming disheartened when you're injured, fighting with fury, and competing to be the first in these things. Total reversal of what they teach in Japan now, which is to be uniform and not to be first. Okay, then what it does is the commentators give their points on the actual title, and they talk about what it is. So I'm going to skip that. It's points on the ideogram for this, points on the ideogram for that, Chinese classics this, Chinese classics that. But then it goes to chapter 1. As you can see, it's got the Natori symbol and it's got chapter 1. Now it's got the names of the different types of samurai. It's got the different types of military units. It's got more terms for samurai and the commanders. It's how to develop bravery. Being prepared. Remember, these have so for example there, being prepared there, that's Natori's words, and they're the Kuden there, that's the Kuden. So, and then between each one is the little Natori symbol I've asked for them to put in. Right, orders for war, part 1, orders for war, part 2. Military gear, the list. The main tools you need for a campaign. Then there's a big list of tools that you will need on your person in your military gear. Then there's a list of horse equipment, how to deal with footwear, chainmail, archer's gloves, sword cord, hunting knives, jackets, rakes, curtains, fire starters, stable curtains, blah blah blah, you know, all these types of things. Chapter 3 is about war horses. I think most people will switch off at chapter 3 because it's very difficult. It's about magic and which horses not to use because they have certain markings on them, or inappropriate from an esoteric point of view. How to put a rider, which riders go with which horses from an esoteric point of view. Horses again. How to take servants to war. How to speak to servants before departing for war. This one is pretty brutal actually. It's, you threaten your servants that you will chase down their entire family, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and murder everyone if they, and you swear as a samurai, which means you're going to do it, if they fail you in war. Right, this is still, hold on a second chaps. Again, how to write, this is oaths between samurais. Now it gives an example of a 7 oath sheet, how to write out the correct oath for a samurai on 7 separate pieces of paper to 7 different types of gods, and sealing it. It's got exactly, so for example on sheet 6, you apply blood from your right foot, and you get your blood and you put it on the thing, and other ones you get the tongue or the back of the neck. It's how to seal in blood your word and your honour. Right, okay, the 4 types of punishments. Now the 4 different things everybody has in their mind: compassion, shame, modesty, correct judgment, even if they're evil. The 4 types of rewards, the 4 punishments again, concerning the 4 rewards. Right, moving on. Talismans, how you should like encourage your men through like belief in the gods. So carrying baskets, how shinobi will hide in your carrying basket. Concerning food and rations, how much rations you need, rations for horses, water rations. Now, positive and negative terms in the military, this comes under, this is another point where I think people may either love it or may switch off, because it talks about all the different terminology, the individual Japanese words, so it doesn't get lost in translation, but it becomes difficult in translation because you're not Japanese reading it, you're English, but you need the Japanese terms because it's about which Japanese terms are correct. So it talks about how to speak. So for example, when you get a banner pole or a bamboo banner pole, you don't say you cut down a banner pole, you say you hunt for a banner pole, because there's a play on words in the cut down and defeat and the family, and there's a play on words with the to hunt them, you're hunting down the enemy type thing. There's different ways you say things. You don't say things that will make your soldiers think weak thoughts or bad thoughts. Then it goes through different types of orders. This will be good for the history buffs because it talks about different orders, different people, and how it all works. So I'll skip that. All the different terms for things. So we're going to be getting loads of terms like the correct term for a mountain castle, a castle with mountain to the side, a castle on a plain, a castle that's built close to the enemy. It's not just castle. There are loads of different types. Right, what I'll do though is I'll skip it. It's quite a big section on correct terms. Then we go to war curtains. Then we get on to chapter 9 by this point. How to count in Japanese military terms, like how to count heads, how to count swords, how to count armor. Again, we're still in this very, very technical Japanese language. Right, the different sounds in battle. Hold on a second. How to gibbet a head when you've taken a head. Right, war cries. Who are kanja and ninja, about the ninja, the spying. We're still in terms here actually. Right. So for example, Suhada Musha. This term is for warriors who fight without armour, and it talks about the different people who fight without armour, and those who are not allowed armour versus those who are just too injured to put their armour back on, but they want to go out a bit like the Viking berserker and go murder everyone. It's got those in them. So then it goes on to banners and flags in war, the different types of banners a samurai can use, the different spears they can use, how to complement armour, how to not when you shouldn't complement armour, when it becomes silly. Now this bit again, I think people may have a problem with, they didn't like it in the Bansen Shukai. It's determine auspicious times. When is a good time? What is a good direction? Then there's a section here which I think some people will love and some people will hate, but you have to have pre-knowledge. It's about the I Ching, so the divination system. Now Natori just very briefly talks about the I Ching, but then the commentator goes on mad about the I Ching stuff. So there's lots of the different I Ching for each month and the way that works. So the brain box out there will have to get their heads on. Okay, how the, for example, how the directions work and which in spring is associated with what, sorry, like which season is associated with which element and which is strong and which animal. So it's trying to explain to the samurai of the day about that, because esoteric things are quite popular in samurai times. But let's get past that. The meal you should have before departing for war, that's the meal you need to do, and on the words you should say when you depart to go to war. How to depart for war. Right, substantial and insubstantial. So how to put your armor on. It goes through all the different sections of the armor. It does say that in the last scroll, but this one goes into more detail. How to tie the headband, things like that, the face guard, and what it does say, you should take your face guard off for battle. I never knew that. And you should take your thigh protectors off, because they seem to be for horse riding and for archery, and you take them off. Okay, right. Okay. Next bit, how to put your horse tackle on, or the area. Now, next one, taking up battle positions, setting up war curtains, how to make a tent, how to make a structure. So, for example, how to make the structures when you're out, and how to make a samurai tent when you're on campaign, how to spy and collect numbers through samurai tents, building shelters, how to get water, how to protect against the cold, maintaining adequate food supplies, searching for water when you're on campaign, night attacks, fires and earthquakes, carrying a name tag during a castle attack and how to name who you are, understanding the trajectory of arrows. I love this one. Basically looking at the path of arrows and how they fire, and the trajectory, basically for modern people, the trajectory of shooting and where you should and should not stand when you go up to a castle. Don't just randomly like there are certain places you should and should not stand. Concerning the language on departing for war, when conducting a night attack, about mountains, forests and directions, recognising when battles is about to start, because people don't realise when it's actually going to go. You've got to keep your mind checked on. There are certain key figures which will give you key, like flags, which will say, that. I don't literally mean flags, I mean like hints in the field of battle when it's going to kick off. The phases of battle, the different phases. Now, the next is the 8 forms of achievement for a samurai. First one is Ichiban Yari, the first spear. Oh, sorry. Right, oh, I don't like touchscreen stuff. Right, I like it, but I'm just not very good at it. The second spear fight, being assistant to the victor of the spear, the person who gets the heads next to you. Grappling and striking in combat. Being the first to arrive on the scene, protecting the rear guard during the retreat. This is Shingari, I quite like this. Defending the retreat alone, being the only Shingari there. Standing before the Lord and taking arrows. So when you've got a principal, you stand and take the bullet, stroke arrows for them, or defend them as they go. This is the same in bodyguard stuff. The summary of the 8 achievements. Then we go on to something called Banaka no Shobu, which is evenly matched combat. The achievement of the young hawk, how basically young people learn about killing on the battlefield and the regulations about that. Now, cutting off the noses, taking evidence for people who've been killed, about deserters, people who've deserted, on killing deserters, defending the retreat, improper heads, possible female heads, falsified heads, discovered heads, snatched heads, the cornered spear, when you corner someone on a battlefield and they're coming back at you but they're from a defensive section, how to deal with that, taking enemy equipment, how to pillage. Do you know pillage in Japanese is randori, which is quite confusing for Aikido people. Things that an independent soldier should keep in mind, stuff like eating quickly, removing armour as late as possible, unsaddling your horse late, how to receive a war baton, How to be given a war sword. Now this is interesting for history buffs. Is you know this fiction of the samurai have to blood their blade and everything when it's unsheathed. That's not true, but what is true is they do have to, when given a new sword, bathe it in blood, as in they have to test it in battle otherwise, which has dire consequences. You're a captain, and that explains everything why in there, and how you should reject being given a sword. This idea that samurai swords are like prestigious and precious and nobody's got one. There was loads of them in war, and it even says how to say, no thank you sir, I don't want your sword. Riding a horse, knowing when a battle has begun, that's more from the other one. Preparing for spear combat, never taking your eyes or mind off the enemy and the enemy terrain. Observing warriors on the other side. Remember, there's lots of information for all these points. Two people who are competing to take a head. How to identify injuries. Using someone as bait. Crossing a marsh. Crossing a river. Words to test people. Times when you are lost in the wilderness, how to track in snow, the different types of ambushes, grappling and striking, the secret ways to use your spear in climbing. The next one is discovering where rivers are shallow or deep, and spikes, how to discover if there's spikes or like thorny barbed wire type things underneath. Leaving marks of evidence at appropriate positions in a campaign. Achievements without witnesses, how do you say when I've done it? Hints for how to cut the faces off people. Preventing the head from being stolen. This is about tying your sagio cord around the head. Then the next one is avoiding the costume of death. I'll leave that for you. The costume of death is mint. The appearance of the allies. Points to keep in mind when you've been defeated. For example, you ride in a circle when you ride away from defeat. Instructing young warriors. Attacking a castle, concerning the front of an allied formation, departing from camp quarters, pillaging, which is randori no koto, deception, insubstantial and substantial again, displaying enemy heads in battle. So for example, when you hold your head up and you're screaming, ah, what you do with the other sword, and the victor behind you has to hold up the weapon that you killed him with. So if you killed him with a spear, you personally hold the sword, but he holds the spear. And then when you see other people on the samurai battlefield, they lift up their heads, everybody's screaming with decapitated heads. It's all very brutal. Then observing the enemy chi of the army. Mounted samurai and samurai on foot, the differences. Naval warfare, a quick talk about naval warfare. Head inspections, which to be honest can be boring to some, but let's just see. But the reasons, so for example, Natori is mint because it gives you the reasons why. So the 12 reasons for head inspections, why they actually happen. And remember, it's about being the tactician, Natori. You're the man who's meant to be able to bring people together as an army and deal with them. And there's reasons why you do it. Like, you don't tell them, but you do it for these reasons. There's 12 of them. Right, heads that are not to be inspected. How to dispose of enemy heads, letters of appreciation when you give praise and reward, celebrating a successful campaign, and I think we've coming to the end now. Right, so basically, and then at the end there's a selected glossary. So that is the second scroll in the first book. So remember, the book is called Book of Samurai. It consists of the first scroll and the second scroll. Now, it's all there, it's 400 pages long. It is the teachings of Natori Sanjuro Masazumi, who was a samurai shinobi, and he wrote down, and he was also he was officially hired as a tactician or gunpo sha, a person who teaches gunpo, and he is the man who taught. He was the third most important school in the Kishu Tokugawa family. It's a very prestigious school. The skills are very prestigious, and they're very, very historical. They were written probably in the 1670s, maybe the 1660s, around then, and they were, excuse me, They were put together for the samurai of Kishu, one of the most powerful samurai families. So the words you're learning and the words you're studying and the teachings are real samurai's teachings from an absolutely 1000% authentic samurai school. There's no doubt about that. They're in very prestigious collections, and the grave still exists, and the documents are all still there, and his existence is well documented. So if you follow this, you are following absolutely the way of the samurai, and not only that, you're following a tactician school from one of the most powerful families in Japan. It's a very, very, very good set of information if you're interested in historical samurai warfare, or you're interested in actually partaking in the way of the samurai. So come and join us. My name's Anthony Cummins, and as always, we are Natori Ryu. This is the school of the Natori family. It's sometimes known as Shin Kusunoki Ryu, or it is a branch of Kusunoki Ryu, mixed in with Natori's original teachings, the Natori family. So the book will be out November 2015. If it's past that date, then please, it's at the bookshop. If not, just pre-order the book online now. Join us, get involved with us on all the social media, and I look forward to talking to you all out there. Thank you very much.